Right. The podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, and entertainment. Nick Durst here, along with Joe Calabrese, and I'm Joe. I'm very excited because we are welcoming back a guest here today to our show, joining the very exclusive multi-time guest club.
Two-time guest.
I get a jacket after 5, right? Like on Saturday Night Live.
Just like a Saturday Night Live.
Yep. Okay. Very good.
Can't wait for that. He spoiled himself already, but you may know him from the Elvis Duran morning show on Z100. He's currently the co-host of the Brooklyn Boys podcast. And as you can see from the video, he's a huge Mets fan. Poor guy, poor Nick. But yes, he's a two-time guest. You will get a jacket after 5 times. We're happy to have you back on. Mr. David Brody. David,
hello, everybody. I'd also like to point out the color of my podcast logo, blue and orange. So
it's blue and orange.
David's got the Mets shirt, the Mets jersey on. Last time he wore the Mets jersey. This time I had to break out the Mets shirt as well. Joe's a little underdressed, but he maybe had his Mets towel or something.
Just to add to it, this is an official Tom Seaver worn jersey.
Wow.
So I wear it with pride for the late, great Mr. Seaver.
So definitely going to be having to talk about the Mets a little later on. And there's a lot to talk about, obviously, with the Mets. But David, first, been checking out your Instagram a lot and seen a bunch of different things and your posts. Are you a fan of barbecue food?
I don't like people that aren't fans of barbecue food. I have to be honest with you. I have friends who are from the South who tell me you can't get good barbecue in New York. They are mistaken. You can absolutely get good barbecue. And I'm a fan of barbecue sauce.
Okay.
And I like cornbread. I like ribs. I like chicken. I like beans, like corn. I like almost all of it. A brisket. Yeah. So yeah, big barbecue fan. Absolutely.
Yeah, the cornbread is just so underrated. It's so good. But you said, good barbecue food in New York. Well, we got a great place for you. This episode is being brought to you by Juicy Lucy Barbecue. Juicy Lucy Barbecue is Staten Island's most authentic Texas-style barbecue. Award-winning brisket, ribs, pulled pork, and other barbecue staples prepared in a commercial smokehouse and served fresh from their Annandale location in Staten Island. Delivery is available to most places, and they can provide food for any party size. It's located at 20 Jefferson Boulevard in Staten Island. And if you order today, we have an exclusive promo code for you. They heard David Brody was coming on the show. They know he's a big barbecue guy. So if you go to juicylucybarbecue.com/YKIR, so it's juicylucybbq.com/YKIR. You can use our exclusive promo code for all of our listeners of the You Know Right podcast. Just put the promo code in of YKIR, and that gives you $5 off your order of $25 or more. Joe, I know you can't wait to order.
I can't wait. And I agree with David wholeheartedly. I think a lot of people look at New York and think only certain foods here are great. We have a lot of great barbecue places, and we are lucky that Juicy Lucy is one of the best places to get barbecue, not only on Staten Island, but the entire city as well. So one more time, use the promo code YKIR, and you get $5 off an order of $25 or more.
And not only is the food good, but the people that own the place are cool if you go in. But they have a logo based on the Metallica logo, and I find that to be extra cool. So I may have to get a shirt because the J and the Juicy and the Y and the Lucy are the lightning bolts of the Metallica logo. So not only are you getting good food, you're getting a fun environment and a cool logo. So you can't ask for more than that.
Absolutely. So go to juicylucybarbecue.com. So juicylucybbq.com/YKIR. Put the YKIR promo code in, $5 off your order. And when you're picking up, tell me David Brody. That's going to go a long way for you. So David, your go-to order for if you're out eating barbecue food?
It's ribs. It's ribs, it's corn, and it's cornbread. And then, if I'm alone, I'll get the beans. If I'm with my family, I do not. I don't need the grief. But yeah, cornbread is like, you go out for Italian food, you have to have Italian bread.
Yeah.
Right? You got to have a little bread on the table. You got to have the cornbread. You have to. You can't leave without it. So yeah, cornbread, and you get a little sauce on the cornbread. Oh my God, guys, I gotta go. I'm gonna go. I gotta leave now. I'm getting hungry.
He's got to go eat. David, you
Yeah,
mentioned Italian bread on the table. Are you an oil guy or a butter guy?
I'm a butter guy. I'm old school. I'm butter before like, oh, we'll give you olive oil. No, give me the butter on the table. I don't care if it's in the little packages with the tinfoil wrapping. I don't care. I don't need a fancy with a pattern in it. Throw the butter on the table. The only thing is on the bread, I need the loaf. I don't care if the loaf is like partially cut.
Hmm.
I don't care. What I don't want is miscellaneous pieces because I
How
used to
about
work.
rolls? You okay with
Rolls
rolls?
are fine, but I used to work in the restaurant industry, and I worked in a couple of places where the miscellaneous bread on the table was from all the tables that didn't finish their
Mm,
breads. They threw in breadsticks and whatever.
nice.
I need the loaf intact so I know that nobody else mostly didn't eat it. They may have taken the end off, okay. But I need that kind of bread. I need bread unruined, that I can rip apart myself. If it's got semolina seeds on it, even better.
Oh, semolina, the best.
Oh,
Yeah, it's got to be a little bit heated too. You could tell it's fresh.
oh.
It's a
It's
little
got to be
hot.
hot. Yeah, I hate
Yeah,
when it comes. You
It's
get
got
the
to be
bread.
hot, and it's got to be a little crispy on the outside, and then you dip it in the baked clam sauce. Oh, so good, so good.
totally, totally agree.
Yeah.
So good. Uh, the end of the David Brody at Z100, right? So good for 20 years. You spent amazing, amazing time there. Alluded to it the morning, people could recognize you from being on the Elvis Duran morning show for all that period of time.
24 years. Yep.
24 years. So we had you on once before. You were talking about some of your best memories, right? But if you want to just talk about your time there, that'll be great.
Well, you know what? I basically, when people say to me, "What do you do for a living?" I said, "Well, I get paid to make people laugh." So, I mean, that's really what the job description was, whether it was writing jokes for people on the show, doing prank phone calls, writing song parodies. And in addition to that, I also got to write songs for sports teams. So I wrote songs for the Mets that they played during at the stadium.
Shout out to
I
Lucas Prada.
Lucas Prada. I had the Baja Men sing "Who Let the Mets Out" in 2000. I had Kat DeLuna sing her song "Wine Up." I rewrote it to "Rise Up Mets" in 2007. They played that, and of course, the collapse, so they didn't get to the postseason to play that. Lucas and I did the song again in 15, and we did it again last year.
Last year.
But I don't know if you heard it. It's probably on YouTube or
When you
SoundCloud.
put the Edwin Diaz trumpets, in, that
That
was a
was
great
it. That
touch.
was the highlight, was me putting that in and convincing the producer it would sound good and where to pause. And they had to keep moving it till I was happy with it. But the Val who produced it did an amazing job. But yeah, the trumpets, that's the part that's upsetting to me, because if they make the postseason, I know Lucas Prada is going to call me and say, we got to do an update, because Mets fans that know the song they start harassing us on social media.
Right.
The song is 2006, but they love it, right? So we keep updating it, changing the players' names. But that trumpet piece is so good, and
Not going to have it this year.
not going to have it this year. And that
Maybe
really,
you could have maybe you could bring back "Who Let the Dogs Out" and like do a Darren Ruff version.
yeah, I have to change the lyrics to "Please cut the dog now."
Rough, rough, rough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not bad. Please cut that dog now. How is he still on the team? I don't.
He's gonna be the DH versus the lefties.
Yeah, when you're ready to talk, when we talk about the team itself, the DH spot's going to take up a little bit of my time.
All right.
I have some issues on the
That's
DH.
what we call a teaser there,
A
Jeff.
little teaser coming up in the next break. Stand by. We will talk about the DH spot.
So David,
Darren Ruff.
I just want to know what's your sleep schedule like these days?
Well, now that I'm not working, I'm not retired, by the way. Some people have said happy retirement. In fact, I got into a minor fender bender not far from my house, and the police officer, the sheriff that showed up, said, "Hey, David Brody, how's it going? How's retirement?"
Oof.
I'm like, I didn't retire. I just stepped back from working round the clock and waking up at crazy hours. So instead of getting up at 5 a.m. or 4:45, I sleep until about 10:30, 11.
Beautiful. Just like Joe.
Joe knows. I get up, I have a little lunch, have a dinner, snack after dinner or a second meal.
Yeah.
The day's all shifted. So I'm taking full advantage of the freedom of not having to get up early. In fact, I was at a birthday party last night. If you know our morning show, Danielle Monero, one of the co-hosts, was turning 50. Husband threw a surprise party for her, and the whole show was there, and people used to be on the show, and me and friends and family and everything. And then it got to like 10, 11 o'clock, and we're having a great time, and all my former coworkers like, oh, we got to go do the show in the morning. Like, yeah, you do. I don't. Go ahead, enjoy yourself. Go to bed, get you 3 hours of sleep. So, yeah. And speaking of my job, I it's on my Instagram if you scroll down enough. But at one point in my life, I did get to throw out first pitch at Shea Stadium, which was definitely a highlight. So, there you go.
So you mentioned that big party you were at. I know Greg T was there. You actually connected us via email to get him on the show. The guy never answered us. So that's what we can tell you about our relationship with Greg T. But what would you say is the best catering hall in New Jersey?
Wow. Catering hall. You know what? I was a big fan of the Manor in West Orange. They had a buffet dinner they had lobster, like whole lobster as part of the buffet. You just go and take a lobster. They're closing in a couple of months.
Yeah.
And they're only doing weddings. But as far as where I went last night, the Venetian in Garfield, New Jersey.
Joe, you ever been to the Venetian?
Area? I love the Venetian. Great place.
Oh my!
I wonder what took place at the Venetian. Nick, refresh my memory.
December 7th, 2019. The Durst duo tied the knot.
Congratulations! Congratulations! Did you know we went to the Venetian last night? Is that why you asked?
I did. I do my research.
Okay, very good. So this is what I'll tell you about the Venetian. I've been there. This was my third time going there. The Italian food is tremendous. Some of the best eggplant parm I've ever had, and I don't eat eggplant parm. But it's mush, and it's sauce and breading and cheese. You don't even notice you're eating eggplant. It's just like cheese and sauce and some breading, and it's terrific. The meatballs last night, perfection. Beautiful. I mean, there's a lot going on there. There's you can have I think 8 parties at once going on. So but the rooms are all private and quiet. It doesn't seem like that. You picked a good place, Nick. Really good. So I'd say second favorite.
Have you been to a wedding there or just parties?
Yes, I went to a wedding and a bar mitzvah. So I got to experience
the cocktail hour at the wedding, from what I was told, is off the charts.
Off the charts.
To experience it because I was taking pictures, but Joe got to eat good, eat like a king. So,
well, if you ever get married again, or guys watching the podcast, if you're watching,
if Joe gets
women,
married.
Whoever gets married watching this, here's what I'll tell you. You're going to miss out on the cocktail hour taking photos.
Yep.
So you have them pack you up something to take home. We had all our food from the cocktail hour, a sampling of everything because we picked all the food. We had it packed up so we could have it in the hotel that night before we left for our honeymoon because you won't get to enjoy it.
Right.
And they also put a plate of some of it on the dais that we were sitting so that we could eat before the food arrived. So we got it after the fact. But the photos, they're never worth it to miss the food.
Yeah. So they brought the food to our room. Okay. But it's not the same. I love the buffet. I love give me this, give me that. I maybe 3, 6, 7
I like
plates.
to make my own plate. Right.
So it's a great place though.
Great place. Well, you'll have to have a friend of yours now get married there, Joe. You can enjoy the cocktail hour.
Dave, any dating advice for Joe here? How could he find his soulmate?
Stop being a Yankee fan. I guess
there you go. Perfect.
I only want to date winners.
Oh, then you should be a Mets fan. I don't know if you've noticed our team and our roster and our payroll.
Yeah, well, first
when you say winners, just because I haven't looked up in the dictionary the word winner lately. So is winner a team that hasn't been to the World Series since 2009? Is that what winner means? I'm unclear. You know what you guys with your new woke language. I don't know what winner means.
Still most recent.
But who was in the World Series more recently?
That's where, sure.
Oh, thank you.
So David, do you think that? I mean,
and that was with the Wilpons.
Yeah, your good friend Skeery Jones. He still goes down Jersey Shore. Now, I would say maybe he's a little too old for that. But do you think Joe at 30 is too old to go down the Jersey Shore every weekend? And is he going to find love in the Jersey Shore?
No, you know what? I think Joe still looks like the type. He's got the unshaven face. He's wearing black. He's got a chain on.
Yeah.
He's got something in his ear, though. What is that? Is that
like a pen?
Okay. I'm not sure the pen thing is still in fashion. But no, he looks like a Jersey Shore guy. He does. And his name's Joe. I mean, the car practically drives itself to Jersey Shore at that point.
All right. Joe actually, we moved to New Jersey now, so he's even closer.
Wow. Now, Joe, what kind of car do you drive? This is a big test now for Jersey Shore.
Uber.
Not a short car. It's a Kia Sport. So model 2019. It's a nice car,
so
nice
I would say park in Central Jersey, Uber to the shore.
Uh,
Unless you got like cool graphics on the windows and an added
The
spoiler.
big decal on the back window.
Like maybe in memory of with a Verrazano bridge on the window, something like that. Make it Italian, a little more Italian. Right now, Kia's not saying Jersey Shore to me.
No, I agree.
Yeah, Joe actually did not go for the first time since he's been 21 to the Jersey Shore at all last time.
Oh, you all right?
Occupied doing a lot of other different things. Running
Went to Nashville instead.
Yeah, I went to Nashville.
Nashville's nice.
Nashville was beautiful. But yeah, I was just preoccupied doing other things. So I didn't really have the opportunity to do it. And in my head, I was always thinking like 30 it's a very hard cutoff line.
No.
Because once you turn 30, if you're on the south side of 30, you're good. If you're on the north side of 30, right, it starts to get a little bit dicey.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's more your attitude, not your attitude, but a person's attitude. If you go down there like, hey, I'm fucking 28 in your mind, then you're fine. If you go down there like, my back hurts, I feel like I'm 48. No. But if you're rocking the hoodie and the chain and the little scruff,
your
name's Joe, you got that attitude from Staten Island, I think you're fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going. Nick's not going. I think you can pull it off.
My back's killing me. I go to physical therapy for my back, just like you, David. So.
Right. Yeah, we're not going. We're like, you know what? The sand is in my it's too much. You're going, you're like, hey, how you doing? You're fine. All right. You got another 6-7 years in you. Now, Skeery, on the other hand, he doesn't know his age. So in his mind, he's fine to go because he still thinks he's 25. Right? And he doesn't look his age. He does look pretty good for his age. I'll give him that. Got his hair. He's looking good. At some point, though, he goes with his boys. He's not looking to pick up women. He's just looking to drink and get bottle service. So his intentions are not the same as what yours might be. You know what I mean? So he's going to drink and have fun with his boys. So it doesn't matter how old he is. Right. You're going to meet people, you're still good. If he was going to meet people, not a chance. He can't be going down there. He can't. Unless he's going for the early bird special. He's too old to be going down there to pick up women because it's girls. It's not even like they're right. They're in it. You can date a 25-year-old, 24-year-old. Sure. Legally, in most states, he cannot. So I guess it depends on who you're talking about. So enjoy yourself this summer.
Well,
and I drive a Dodge Charger. So if you need a cool lift down there, I'll let you get out of my car to look good, and I'll drive the hell out of there because I don't.
Could you imagine that, Joe? You call David, he picks you up, or you drive to him. You park your car. He drives you down to the Jersey Shore. He lets you out of the car, revs up the engine.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to hopefully the cop's not there. And he's like, oh, this guy's retired, dropping you off. But I think that would work out pretty well for you.
Absolutely. Needs to drive you down Ocean.
Absolutely.
Headliner to DJs.
That's it. Extra $25. I'll let you sit in the back so you get out like I'm your driver.
I love that. Sounds like a good idea.
There you go.
We'll get our logistics associate Nino to contact you to get that done for Joe. But you do a lot of traveling, David, and you went on the Norwegian Prima, the new ship. You go over there. I saw that picture of you and Skeery in the hot tub or whatever. I really thought it was photoshopped. I did not think that was actually you.
Well, it wasn't a hot tub. What it is it's a hot springs. It's a blue lagoon in Iceland, and there's a natural heat, and then they pump in there's some heaters they put in to make it a warmer. So it's like a little lake with bridges and things, but it's heated, and the water they say is naturally bluish, like a bluish gray from the colors of the rocks and the lighting and the whole thing. And then you do mud masks. There's like a mud place. They give you a facial, and we did that. So I figured, what the hell?
Typically, you go on these trips, you got to work. This was purely basically a vacation for you. But in the past, you had done a bunch of these work trips. On these work trip vacations in your past, how much time is being spent working versus enjoying the trip?
Oh, I'd say it's probably 80-20 enjoying.
Okay.
So usually what happens is, let's say we do 4 days at Atlantis, in the Bahamas. You get there Thursday afternoon and you leave Sunday. You meet with the hotel people, you have a cocktail hour where you meet with the listeners and you all gather, whatever. Then you stay up a decent time on Thursday. You do the show live on Friday. And then once we hit like the fourth hour, by 9:15, we would record the last couple of breaks. And then we would drink in the whole show or whoever was drinking. And by 9:15, 9:20, we were done. And then the weekend is yours. So again, there would probably be a concert on Saturday. So you'd work the concert, which means you go on stage, introduce the act. You schmooze with listeners, which is always fun. And then by the time Saturday afternoon rolls around, like 7, 8, 10 listeners. You're hanging out with them at the pool, at the bar, their names. So it's mostly relaxing. It's not a lot of work. But for me on the cruise, I had stepped down beginning of August. The cruise was end of August, so I was already sleeping late for a few weeks at that point. The cruise was sort of I was going on it anyway, and they were like, nope, you're going on the cruise with us. You're coming. I was like, absolutely, I am. So we got on the ship, I guess, Thursday. We went to the lagoon right off the plane. So we because of the time difference, we had stayed up all night, did the lagoon. So we were exhausted, and I forced myself to stay up late on Thursday so my clock would be reset. And then Friday morning was the live broadcast, which I did not go to because why would I get up early on my vacation? I don't work there anymore.
Right.
And so at 10 o'clock, I see Elvis at the bar, Elvis Duran. And he says, Brody, what happened? I thought we'd see you this morning at the show. So I just went, not a chance. I appreciate you wanting me there, but no, I'm not getting up. No. I saw everybody later. It was great, but I did not get up for the broadcast. It was pure relaxation for us. So it was good. Great trip. And I've been on a couple of cruises since then. So yeah, we're big cruisers.
A couple of cruises since September.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. We went on, yeah. So we went on,
I heard Christmas. you got pretty injured playing dodgeball on a cruise.
Oh, you listened to the Brooklyn Boys podcast, I guess, or somebody ratted me out. Yeah. So we did a cruise in January, which was fine. And then when I came back from that was, we went Christmas to New Year's. And then sometime in the end of January, my left knee started getting a little sore. I would get up from a table at dinner at a restaurant, and I was like, oh, that's a little crampy. What's going on there? And then it got progressively worse. And as it turns out, I don't have any cartilage in my left knee anymore. So I have the knee and the leg bone just kind of
rubbing up against
each other. So I got a shot of gel, which is like temporary cartilage in your knee. And I got a slide-on knee brace. And my orthopedist was like, oh, if it doesn't hurt, go have a great time on the cruise. I was like, great. He didn't give me any limitations. It's great. So as a kid growing up and when I was younger, I played dodgeball. And I was the head of my camp in dodgeball. When I was 12, I was beating the counselors. I caught everything. I threw really hard for my age. I love dodgeball. And as an adult, I played occasionally, So they was like, oh, Thursday is dodgeball. I was like, that's great. The cruise started Sunday. I said, by Thursday, I'll play dodgeball. And so the ship had this all-purpose giant venue on the ship, which was like
must have been the Anthem of the Seas.
Yeah, okay, yes, Anthem of the Seas. So they had a slick court where it was used for
cards, rollerblading.
Listen, you know it all, but the audience doesn't. So shh.
I went on the same ship for the second time in December. I came home with the gold medals for basketball and volleyball.
Very nice. Yeah, it's a great ship. It's a great ship.
Actually, I'll let you finish your story, but the dodgeball, they were doing dodgeball. Within the first 2 minutes, this guy slipped or something. They had to call the ambulance people. They had to take him off in a wheelchair. So you're not alone. It must be not a good court for dodgeball.
You know what? It's a little slick, but also your sneakers grip really well on it. It's not wood. It's some kind of slick surface. So they line up all the dodgeballs. They're a little smaller than the standard dodgeballs, and they line them up on the middle line. They tell us all to stand at the back line, the 5 of us on each team, and to run up, grab the balls, and then run back. You can't hit anybody till you run back. Okay, great. The guy says 3, 2, 1, and I made it about 3 steps. I went left, right, and then my second left, like I got shot in the leg, and I just went down, and then I I like to mentally I'm an athlete, right? So I kind of limped back as fast as I could, and I stayed until there was 2 of us left, and if you heard the podcast, the girl that hid in the corner who didn't want to throw or run up and she just kind of stood there. She outlasted me because I got hit while I was throwing, and how fast can I run? So at that point, I limped off the court, and then I was bedridden for about 7, 8 hours, and then took me about a day and a half to actually be able to walk again normally. So yeah, you have a bad knee, don't play dodgeball is really the moral of the story. Or if nothing else, don't run to get the ball. Eventually you'll get one near you. So yeah,
Edwin Diaz with the bad knees.
Yeah. Before I even got to celebrate, Edwin Diaz. Oh, okay. Okay. I know we're going to talk about him at some point.
We're getting there. Okay. We're almost there.
Yeah. So the cruise was good. So I've been home from the cruise since Sunday. So a little under a week. And I came from physical therapy today on my knee. It feels a little better. Thank you for bringing it up. Yeah.
Good. Keep working on it.
Yeah. But go on cruises. Not everyone gets injured. Just me.
Sure.
Yeah, we had a good go on a cruise.
I've been on a cruise since 2010.
When's the Brooklyn Boys cruise? You bring all your fans, do live recording.
You know what? When I went on the cruise in January, there were 3 people on the ship that recognized me in the buffet. I was having lunch, and they came up to me like, "Oh my God!" So I just need a couple more thousand that want to go on a cruise, and we can make this happen. Yeah.
We got 2 right here.
All right, that's good. That's a start. I'll call Norwegian, let them know.
My wife, she's in.
All right, we got
in-laws.
We're up to half a dozen before you know it. There you go.
So you with your knee, you're waking up later. We got to ask you about your upcoming career plans because, relatively speaking, how many careers are out there for you?
Well, you know what? A lot apparently. So I don't have anything definitive today. But what I've learned over the last 6 or 7 months is that my skills in producing and creating revenue and hiring interns and training staff and talent placement around the country, which is what I did for iHeart. There's a lot of companies that have reached out that want my skills because they translate to, I would say like adjacent, radio adjacent, audio adjacent companies that deal with similar things that what I dealt with are interested in what I do. It's just a matter of I'm not ready yet.
Right.
I'll be closer to my year. I'll be ready. I'm enjoying myself. My wife and I are going to Broadway shows and having dinner during the week and going out. And I'm not ready yet. And I've been taken care of very well with my former company. And I'm still with Premiere Radio. My podcast is still syndicated through Premiere. In the meantime, if you guys are old enough to remember Wacky Packages, they were before Garbage Pail Kids. So what Wacky Packages are, and you can Google them, they are stickers that are puns and parodies of existing products in your supermarket. So I grew up with them, and then they had like 20 series every year, new series of stickers. And I hooked up with Topps, and I've been writing stickers for them as they come out. So I was at Comic-Con in October of last year, signing the stickers with the artist, and so I'm doing that. I've written a couple of parodies for a late night talk show host. We're working on that. There's a couple of things I'm working on.
I heard you might be replacing James Corden.
Well, there is an opening. I'm working on my British accent, but I'd have to move to LA. So no, I'm not replacing James, but writing for late night television is something I did when I first started writing comedy. Right. I was writing jokes freelance for Jay Leno when he did The Tonight Show. Yep. And Bill Maher when he was hosted Politically Incorrect, his old show. I wrote for Conan O'Brien some things. So writing for late night talk shows is probably one of the things on the top of my list at this point. But there's been some things put in front of me that are very interesting. So hopefully I have something.
Other comedy opportunities?
Well, I have a couple of comedian friends that are dying for me to get back on stage. So I have been working on some material to do that. You know, the wacky packages is comedy technically, and I just signed up for it's a website, it's an app called Skiller, Skillr, and people pay you per minute to do whatever your skill is. So if you're a music teacher or a comedy writer, so people will pay me by the minute to write jokes for them. I have a speech coming up, or I have a function, or I'm doing something for my school. I just signed up, haven't started yet, but there's little avenues I'm looking at that are interesting to me for different ways to make a couple of bucks, but more importantly, just to keep my comedy writing flowing. And and of course I write on Twitter a lot too. So
I think if you're doing a comedy show, you get I'm right to open for you. So I think
sure.
that's the best thing. And then of course if I think all these companies would love to have you there as, we'll say like a program director, getting the right people in the right spots. So
sure.
of course, if you get that, I'll be sending over my broadcast reel. We'll make something happen. But
very good. And we'll get Juicy Lucy to cater it, Staten Island's finest barbecue.
Yeah, maybe you could do the comedy show there with barbecue food. So
not a bad idea.
But we're talking about the Brooklyn Boys. So you're still doing it with Skeery.
Yep.
And a great relationship with Skeery. After we had you on our show 2 years ago, we had him on. And there was a little bit of controversy where perhaps Skeery may have messaged Joe without me knowing, without you knowing, maybe paid him off to kind of help him push a little bit of product. Is that something that you think might have happened?
Skeery, we always joked on the morning show that there's nothing Skeery wouldn't endorse that he wouldn't sell. And it got so bad one year. Now Skeery is will forever be single, as far as unmarried, I should say. And he doesn't ever want kids or pets. He doesn't want responsibility. And he endorsed Pampers diapers. Now, 4 or 5 of us on the show have kids. My kids are long out of diapers, but there were other people on the show that could have spoken about the trials and tribulations of changing a diaper. Of all the people on the show, he was top of the list of not the person you would want, but he overheard a conversation. He's like, I would do that. They're like, oh, great. So no, Skeery will sell ice in the winter, as the expression goes. And he also is, one of the things clients love about him is that he will endorse and promote his clients any opportunity he gets.
Right.
In conversation, on a podcast, on his Instagram, he'll just work it in like, oh, I'm out at the club and look what liquor I'm drinking. Or, oh, I happen to be wearing a shirt by he's fantastic at it. I tell him all the time, I said, there's nobody better. I don't have the gall, the chutzpah, the balls to do that as frequently as he does. And so the fact that he slipped in his, you remember like they used to call Dr. Dwight Gooden, Dr. K?
Yeah.
So the doctor who handles his fat loss regime, he will slip that into conversation whenever he can. And so we have a jingle created. I created the jingle for our podcast. Whenever he does that and thinks I didn't realize it, we hit it and it says that was a Skeery inappropriate product endorsement. Not cool. And so, because he will just work. Yeah, it was so hot. I was drinking my vitamin water. I go, hit the jingle. And so if I miss one of those, if he mentions a product, our listeners will tweet us or DM us and say, and me specifically, and say, didn't you catch when he mentioned the vitamins he's taking? I go, yeah, I missed that one. Because he does it 6-7 times an episode. Where he just work, because I don't always know, especially now that I'm out on the morning show, I don't know what products he's endorsing on the radio. So when I hear it, I have to assume it's a client. Otherwise, why would he mention the brand? Right. He was like, oh, I was taking antacid. I took he's like, no, I took a Rolaids because 750 because it tasted delicious. The wild berry flavor was great. Then I know he's plugging. So it doesn't surprise me, Joe, that he would get you to cover him or set him up. Oh, you look good.
You do a good cut, Joe.
You look like you lost weight, Skeery. Oh, as a matter of fact, and then he's off.
And that's what happened.
Yep.
There was some other thing he was pushing there. So I'll tie it together. David, by you, where you live, do you have any Do you have like a Ralph's Ices? Or are you familiar with Ralph's Ices? Or
Oh, of course I'm familiar with Ralph's Ices. Of
all
course,
right.
the best.
So he's talking about how great Ralph's Ices are, and I was like, I hate Ralph's because they're the biggest scamboni. They are like this little thing here, a small ice the size of this, which fits in
Mhm.
my hand, is $4 now. I think it's just insane. You can go
Yeah.
to I know it's different. Go to the grocery store, get 2 cartons of ice cream for $5. So I just don't know where you stand on all this insane price gauging these days in the ice wars, and are they really that worth it? Because to me, if I really am craving a Spumoni ice, maybe I'll go to a pizzeria, go to
Yeah.
Spumoni Gardens, and their prices, sure, they're a little more, but they're not raising
They're
25 cents
huge.
every year.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of price gouging. So I will tell you, Ralph's Ices in Staten Island, right across from Danino's, that
the
area.
original Port Richmond.
The
Yes.
original. You know what? For the atmosphere and the vibe and the tradition, I'll go and if whatever the price is, all right, fine.
Right. That's actually the cheapest one on Staten Island, the original
Okay.
one.
And usually I got
Different
cash in
owners.
my pocket because the last time I went, Danino's doesn't take credit cards. So you always have to have
Every
cash.
place now does not take credit. You take credit cards, you got to
they
pay
charge
4%
you.
extra.
My dog groomer was like, the sign's 3.99%.
Yeah.
So I figured out it was like $8. I'm like, listen, I can curse on this podcast. I already have, so I'm going to go ahead. Credit cards, the way credit cards work is I pay the interest rate on my charges, right? Because when I don't pay my bill, you're the store. You pay for the right to get me to pay at your store because I don't carry cash. You want me to come spend money at your store. You pay a 4% fee to MasterCard or Visa or Amex for the privilege of using their service to get my money that I'm paying interest on. I don't pay your fee. I don't pay your rent. That's not the way it works. So fuck you. So I don't go to places that charge me more. I don't want to say, but there's a certain ravioli place from Brooklyn that's now in New Jersey. And I went in there and they're like, oh, we give a discount for cash. I speak English. That means you're charging me more for credit card. You're not giving me a discount for cash. Okay? I'm not walking around with $100 to buy your ravioli and sauce. I have a credit card. You want to do business? You pay the 4%. Or mark it up 4%. Don't tell me. But how do I know you didn't already mark it up and you're charging me the 4%? It's a huge scamboni. So the dog groomer was like $200 and something for the 3 dogs. And I'm like, 4%. And I didn't have a cash on me. I said, I'm going to pay that. But if I don't have cash, you lost the customer. If I don't have the cash to come here, I'm not going to come. That's your problem. So I go on for 20 minutes, Nick. Now you pissed me off. That fucking 4% bullshit. It's like when you go to the gas station, they're like, oh, it's more for. No, you are charging me $4 a gallon for gas. You pay the credit card. You pay it. Bastards.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Can't agree anymore. Joe is a guy who never has cash, so he's always paying the 4%. So it's and then a lot of these stadiums now, ballparks, cashless. So I don't know how that's working out.
I think if you're cashless, you can't charge the fee. Okay. Here's what I'll say. And you can't do it. It's like crack. If people stopped using their credit cards because of the additional percentage, credit card companies would start paying attention to the vendors that are doing that and either charge them more money or stop their service. Because what happens is if I pay cash, these stores are fucking MasterCard. And so what happens? MasterCard is then going to raise my interest rate to make up for their loss. Right. Nobody takes a loss. That they don't go like, oh, we'll just make less money. No. How can we make our even money? We have shareholders. So if you don't use your credit card, then the stores aren't paying MasterCard at all. They're not making my interest rate for my late payment. And therefore, they're going to raise my interest rates. So you're fucked either way. I just want ravioli.
And you know what's another scam is, and this is something that it's kind of new, because I grew up, if I wanted to order takeout delivery, I just call up and they deliver it. Now they got Uber Eats, DoorDash, and all this. You're paying like 3 times the price if you use one of those apps. So you should certainly order directly. Like just go straight to juicylucybbq.com/YKR and put in the YKR promo code and just order directly from the vendor because you're going to save yourself money in that regard.
100%. And you're going to get good barbecue. I don't even want to go out now. I don't even want to go out in the world. It sucks.
That's why you go on the cruise. You don't got to worry
Right.
about it. You
No,
paid
it's all
already. You got all the
inclusive.
food.
I paid for the food. I paid for the drinks. It's all, I'll tell you though, we went, one guy was like, we went to, on St. Patty's Day, they have an Irish bar on the ship, Anthem of the Seas. It's something Bach, Public Bach or Rock Bach. I don't know what it was. And we were there for St. Patty's Day and we ordered appetizers or whole, whatever they had there.
Got to
And
pay.
the bill comes and the guy's like, it's like $20, $21. I go, well, it's all included. He goes, oh no, this isn't included. I go, this is additional food.
A la carte.
I go, listen, pal, I know what I paid for the food package. This is either included, or you don't have a sign saying it's included, in which case you can take it off my bill. He goes, well, you ate it already. I go, I didn't see a sign saying I had to pay for it. You didn't say I had to pay for it, and I have the food package. So as it was, I went to customer service, like, oh, that's a mistake. You don't pay for that.
There you go.
So almost paid for something. I'm like, absolutely not. I don't pay for the drinks. I don't pay for anything. So yeah, the cruise is great. I don't have to carry my wallet with me. You carry a key card or a wristband on you. You just touch everything. It's great.
David, how great is Coco Cat?
Oh my God. So we've been on other cruise lines, and I'm not going to disparage anybody, but sometimes when you go over the years, I've been on most of them. When you go to their private island, it's not really their private island. It's an island that the country owns, and they've got
piece of Haiti. We'll circle it off, you know.
Right. Yeah. So this little area is reserved for the cruise line. Then when you get there, your all you can eat key card doesn't work, and you have to pay for food. Nothing, right? Well, this time the island is actually an island with Royal Caribbean, and the Coco Cay, or Key if you prefer, and if you're from the Bahamas, they pronounce it Key, like Florida Keys, even though it's spelled C-A-Y. It's their island, and they have cabanas and beds with roofs and food. All the food was included.
Great
They don't even
buffet.
ask you. They don't even ask you for the card. You
No.
walk up, they're like, "What do you want?" I go, "I have this, 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 this." They just give it to you. I go, "Can I get another mozzarella sticks?" Yep, here you go.
Okay, yeah.
That's the way you want to go on vacation. You don't be like, "Can you charge? You put it to my room. And what's my limit?" And oh, this isn't included with the ship because it's an island. I thought this was your island. Oh, but it's run by the city, whatever owns the island. I was like, oh, so I don't get free drinks. So I'm here on the beach. I can't get a pina colada. I got to pay for it. Now I'm not on vacation anymore. So I like the Royal Caribbean way of doing it, where it's their island, their people are working there. Everyone had a Royal Caribbean shirt on, and it was all included. That's what you want. All included means all, not most.
David,
all
I could
included.
see you. I mean, it's a grueling job, maybe like for a week or two. I think you'd be a great cruise director.
You know what? I don't know about cruise director, but I feel like because I've thought about this, I feel like I would be really good at working as a person who goes from cruise to cruise.
Comedian.
But no, not doing comedy. Yeah, I would do comedy, but no, someone who does like inspections and to make sure that standards are met.
Quality control,
or to come up with new ideas, or to make sure that people are having the same experience that I want. You know, when I go on one cruise line or another, I see what works, what doesn't work really well. And then when I talk to the people at the cruise companies, because I know people, they're like, you're 100% right. You know, we're changing that on the next ship, or we've seen in our research the same thing. Or I go on the chat pages there's a lot of Facebook groups and Instagram groups from cruise lines. Yep. And you can see as you're on the ship, there's other people on your ship reviewing everything. They're like, oh, eat here, don't eat there, or look out for this. And you're like, that's very helpful. I would be good at that, working for a company as an idea person for the cruise line. I would love that. I love the whole environment, the vibe, the traveling. I love all of it. So yeah, I could do that. David, the comedy part's hell.
Dave, have you ever met comedian Mike Marino? He's a friend of Nick and I.
He used to work on the Jay Leno show, so
no, but give him my number, please.
We're going to be.
Well, Dave, maybe you want to come with us. We're going to a show soon.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, you said he used to work for the Tonight Show, so you'll have to let me know.
He used to work with Jay Leno for 10 years.
Wow, that's very impressive. And is he from Staten Island?
New Jersey, Scotch Plains.
Jersey. From Scotch Plains. Yep, it's a really nice area over there. So recently, he's kind of had a career resurgence over here. He's been involved in a lot more things. He's getting a lot of bookings in Florida, California. But one of his things recently, he's been paid a lot, to do his set on cruises, and it's been pretty lucrative for him. And he's been going on cruises multiple times a year. So it's very hard for Nick and I to be able to pin down time with him. But he's brought up ideas to us that we've really been a fan of, and we think he's a really swell guy. We've been to his house multiple times. Really, really nice guy. But I was just curious, and yes, he did work on the Jay Leno show. So I think the link there, between you two, at this stage, I feel like you two are similar personalities. You would get along really, really well.
Brody Marino, I'm right, comedy tour coming soon to a cruise line near you.
There you go. Well, you know what? You want to make the connection, feel free. I always like to be around creative people. I will tell you, when you talked about me doing comedy on a cruise ship, I don't really do stand-up. Really what I did was sketch comedy and improv. I did sketch stand-up for a little while. I'm starting to write stand-up now. I'm not ready for a cruise ship. I will tell you, having done improv and sketch, when you perform at a comedy club, the audience is there knowing they're getting comedy. They're having a couple of drinks. They're there to laugh. That's their purpose, right? When we would do sketch comedy improv, sometimes a restaurant would have a comedy night, but not everyone who was going to the restaurant that night was there for the comedy. They thought they were going to dinner. And so the crowd was very uneven. People were like, wish they'd shut up. I'm trying to eat my food here.
Right.
When you're on a cruise, because I usually go to the comedy shows to see I like comedy. The crowd ranges from 15-year-old kids, 18-year-old spring breakers, middle-aged families, old people. So to do comedy for that audience is like the difference between back in the day, Leno and Letterman, or Fallon and Colbert, right? Fallon is doing your middle America, a little political, but keep it clean and everybody gets along comedy. And Colbert is a little more thinking man, a little more niche, a very political, more like Letterman was. There's a different audience. When you're on a cruise ship, you can't be Dave Chappelle, right? You can't be polarizing. You can't be dirty. And so you limit what comedians can work, but then within that, the comedians have to limit their material to cruise ship material. And inevitably what happens is, the last show I went to on Norwegian Bliss, 2 comics came out, and the first guy was a white guy from the middle of the country, very like family friendly, right? The next guy came out was I think he was from the Philadelphia area. And he was black, and his humor, I thought he was funnier, but he was edgier. And the old people started leaving, right? The young people were loving it more because he was hitting it, not hard, but he was getting there, and there were people who were like, oh, my word. And so it's like, I was laughing my ass off because he was really funny.
Yeah.
But you could see the difference. The first guy was doing like hokey impressions, and he did a couple of little magic tricks, and he did like stuff you could do on television if you're working clean, but not like Seinfeld clean, not like brilliant. It was like fine. And nobody got offended. Nobody left because he was terrible. But the next guy was funnier, but people were leaving. So I would not want to balance that and do comedy, because my humor is not for that kind of crowd.
Tough audience.
Good luck to Mike Marino is what I'm saying.
So, David, you've been waiting for this the whole episode, foaming at the mouth. It's time to talk about the New York Mets. What are your expectations for this season?
Okay, so I would say a month ago, my expectation was, how do they not get deep into the playoffs? Look, anything could happen in the playoffs. We saw that last year where they just won one game against the Padres, and that was it. I'll tell you what, my enthusiasm dropped more than my expectations when Edwin Diaz got injured. So, look, I love the trumpets. I love the entrance. And by the way, when Timmy Trumpet, whatever his name is, he didn't play live. He was trumpet syncing, just for the record. He was not playing live. He wasn't playing. The acoustics would never sound like that. And anyway, so I'm calling bullshit on that. Anyway, when he comes out, it's like Enter Sandman. It was great for the game. To be there when it happened, it's amazing. In my mind, though, and so that's part of the excitement of the season is lost for me. In my mind, though, and you can correct me, but what did he pitch? Like 70 innings? Right? So he's in less than half of the games. Maybe he blew 2 saves, 4 saves the whole year. He had a great year. a decent reliever is going to blow 6, 7, 8, 9 games, saves, right? So you're looking at maybe 6 or 7 more blown saves than what the best closer in baseball had. Of the 6 or 7 blown saves, how many do you lose? Blown save means you could leave in a tie. So you could win some of those games. So in my opinion, Diaz may have, although he shut the door, he struck out the side, he ended rallies, maybe he's good for 4 or 5 wins, which is a lot when you tie for the division. But if your offense is 4 or 5 games better, if you start going into the 8th inning up 5-1 rather than 2-1, then the role of the closer isn't as important, and you can absorb the loss of Edwin Diaz. Now, obviously, in the postseason, you need that guy to shut the door down. But if your rotation allows you to put Carrasco or, Senga in the bullpen to throw bullets, if Senga comes in and throws bullets in the postseason, then maybe there's a way around it. So my issue is more with the DH spot than the bullpen, because I like the bullpen. But if my DH is, like Vogelback, he hit well. His power numbers were okay, but he's not a DH. I want David Ortiz in my DH. Yeah,
you don't want your DH batting 7th or 8th.
No, I want my DH hitting 35 home runs, knocking in 90 minimum. I don't want a guy who only hits from the left side, because then they bring in a lefty and now he's wasted. Darren Ruff's not your right-handed answer. Brett Beatty's left-handed. Alvarez isn't ready. Vientos maybe is the answer. Tommy Pham's not hitting. So I think the DH spot is where you're going to pick up at the trade deadline. I think you're going to pick up a big bat.
That's what we thought last year, though.
Yeah, I know. I think last year was, we don't want to give up talent. We're not there yet. We want to build the farm system. I think this year you're all in at $320 million payroll, where you're going to say, you know what? If we can get a bona fide 40 home run type of guy, and we have to give up Mark Vientos, they're going to do that, because you're going to know you're going to know. Yeah, you know that where Beatty's going to play. You know you're signing. You're going to try for Ohtani next year.
Ohtani, right? You're trying to get Ohtani.
Your Canna's gone. Marte's gone. You're going to open up some spots. You're going to have 1 year left on Scherzer, 1 year left on Verlander. So yeah, you're now closer to figuring out, I got to win this year, right? Or maybe next year. But is Vientos going to put you over the top? Beatty may be your third baseman in the future. Vientos may be your DH for somebody, or first baseman. He's not playing first base for the Mets. He's not playing third base for the Mets. Does he move to the outfield? Maybe, but also aren't you moving Mauricio? Oh my God, that guy looks like a real talent. Yes. I don't move Mauricio. Maybe I don't care if he doesn't play shortstop. He's my backup if anything happens to my shortstop. If Lindor gets injured, I got a guy. If my third baseman gets injured, I got a guy. I can put him in the outfield or DH. Mauricio looks like a real power threat. Vientos looks like a solid player right now. He's having a good spring, but if I have to move him to win a World Series, I'll do it. If I can get a closer or a power hitter at the deadline, then I'm going to move him. But I think last year wasn't the right time to do that.
So I made a vow last year as we're leaving the Game 3 wild card, which was just disgusting. I said to Joe, said to our other friends, my sister, said, I'm not coming back next year. Now, maybe that changes. David Brody says you want free tickets, so sit behind the plate, all you can eat. Okay. But I said, I'm not going back because I can't deal with this offense. It's not good enough. And like you, I lost my enthusiasm here, but a little before you, when the Carlos Correa deal went kaput, because they needed someone there. I don't want to hear about Escobar having a great September. What about his poor April, May, June, July, and August? I don't think he's going to be that good. He could hit, lefties a little, but whatever. And they needed somebody big there. What bothers me even more is they're going to offer Correa, what, 375, 365. But starting the offseason, all we heard about was, the Mets love Trey Turner. He only got like 300. So they should have just signed him. They would have been better off there. And now they're stuck with the same exact team for last year, which got one hit against the Padres in the playoffs. So the bullpen, maybe it's okay. Excited about Senga. We got Verlander to replace DeGrom. But the offense is just not good enough. There's only one power hitter. And I don't know, David, when's the last time a team won a World Series where they just were not doing it offensively?
Well, I think the not to ignore the question, but if you look at the Phillies, they just hammered their way into the World Series.
Right.
with everybody's uppercut swinging and exit velo and angle and all, you need power bats. Now, the Mets pitching should be good enough to neutralize other teams, right? As far as Correa, I know Correa is a great ball player, but if you look at his, and I know that Escobar's season was lopsided, right? But as far as the home run numbers, RBIs, and batting average, they were pretty close. They certainly warrant $300 million difference. I
My
think
whole
Correa.
point is though they need to get somebody.
Look,
Correa,
I would have signed Trey Turner 100%, right? But when Trey Turner was signed, the Mets weren't desperate. When everyone was off the board and Correa was still sitting out there, and Uncle Steve thought he could get a discount at the last minute while he was in his cabana in Hawaii, I understand why he might have said, you know what? F it. I know what my payroll is now.
Right.
I know where we sit. Pull the trigger. And he did it, which is, and he came out and announced that he
went
excitement.
over.
He went over.
Right.
I think if Trey Turner was the last guy left, he would have gone after Trey Turner. I think he was like, so wait a minute, we're going to spring training soon, and the offense we thought it would be different. We got pitching, but he goes, I think he was like, I got to do something.
Yeah.
I got money.
So I'm hoping they go into the deadline this year. They didn't last year. And I would trade Vientos. I wouldn't trade Mauricio. I'd hold on to Beatty. I'd trade Alvarez if I have to, if it's going to get us to the World Series, because you have another top catching prospect.
Yeah, but Prada, right? Is that right? How many years away is he? The thing is, if Alvarez,
but they signed Narvaez for a 3-year deal, so
but Narvaez is your backup. At some point, Alvarez is going to come up, and they're going to make a decision between Nito and I think Narvaez was 2 years, wasn't it?
2 years.
Sure it was 3?
I think he might have an option, but it's
okay. I think it's a mutual. It's either player or team option. Yeah. I think it's 2 guaranteed. If Alvarez is what they say he is, catcher with that power doesn't come along. No. It doesn't. That's a unicorn, right? That's an Ohtani type thing. You don't trade him. You don't. Now, if you think you're not sure he can hit major league pitching, then capitalize before anyone figures that out. But if you know he's going to be 40 home runs behind the plate and he's built for it, and he's the next Piazza, I'm not giving that up. I'd rather give up a hitter that dime a dozen. I'm sure that I'm not giving up Mauricio. I like Beatty. Maybe it depends who you're getting. Honestly, it depends if you're getting the second best reliever in baseball, or
what if you get Ohtani?
Yeah, all right then. Well, here's
what do you think, Joe? Let Joe chime in here on Ohtani to the Mets, because he's been very.
Let Joe go first. I have an opinion on that, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, he's a better fit this year, obviously, and I don't know if that's going to happen. I think they're just going to wait to see.
Wait till free agency and sign him.
Right. You know, at this point, your owner will be able to outbid anybody, so that's fine. In regard to the lineup construction, I think if you're looking for a DH solution, maybe you look internally. Maybe you make Alonso the DH, and then you look for an extra. Maybe you look for a better first base glove out there, because, again,
bring back Dom Smith.
Well, I mean, but I think finding a glove there works, because the Yankees for a while needed that kind of player, and they went out and got Anthony Rizzo. And even though Rizzo's average kind of has been iffy here and there, his OBP is relatively high. He's excellent with the glove. So maybe getting more of a glue infielder like that. Not saying Alonso's a bad first baseman or anything, but if you're looking to get that extra advantage from the power pop, that what he wants, David, from the DH, that could be it. But yeah, I mean, relievers are always available. They're always overpriced, and you got to pay more at the deadline to get them. And teams always like to sell high on them, but relievers are always available. David Robertson had a good season last year. I don't think the bullpen's going to be as bad as people think. And I agree, Dave. I happen to think that if they are up 4-1 in games or 5-2 in games, that'll help. Yeah. So, I mean, the Mets, listen, there were 3 teams in National League that won 100 games last year. None of them played in the NLCS. The Padres and the Phillies played in the NLCS. Mm-hmm. Dodgers choked. The Braves choked even after they overtook the Mets, and they lapped them in September at the end there. And the Mets, who won 100 games, were very good, got one hit, so wacky, wonky things, that's baseball, Susan, all that stuff happens. But at least now the Mets have there's a little versatility here. Yeah. Luis Diaz really stinks, but there are pivots here that can be made.
Got to
very
make a trade for
crazy.
offense. David, the last thoughts here on the Mets.
All right. So my thought on the Alonso thing, you have a problem. As a non-Mets fan, you made that comment. Anyone who's a Mets fan would say, Joe's not a Mets fan. Here's why. Pete Alonso has a thing in his head. He has to play first base. Even though his average and his home run numbers are better as a DH, he has a pride issue. He wants to win a Gold Glove at first. If you saw Mark DeRosa's comments on Team USA, he's like, I'm going to get you a couple at-bats. He goes, I'm not coming out of the game. Pete thinks he's Willie Mays, which is good for his ego, and if that's how he performs, that's great. He's not going to be a full-time DH happily, and that doesn't make for a good Pete Alonso.
Right.
He needs
Remember,
to take
this
days
guy's
off.
going to be a free agent. You're going to have to sign him back. So
But they need to get it. Well, he's got 2 more years, but they need to give him long-term. They gave everybody else.
give him a
Pete's
12
got to
year
be
deal.
happy. Look, if you sign the second coming of Keith Hernandez, who's a good hitter and an amazing fielder, then a conversation has to be had with Pete. But when you were looking at Dom Smith versus Pete, Dom Smith was like behind the back, and he was great at first base. He couldn't hit. And so I'd rather have, did Pete make a lot of errors last year? He scooped the ball really well. His range isn't fantastic. He's not left-handed. I get all that. But maybe close to what you were saying, maybe Mark Vientos is the DH. Maybe Alvarez is the DH for a while until he's a full-time catcher. There's other bats, but moving Pete, I know what you're saying, get a great field. I don't know how many great fielding first basemen there are in the game. If I got Paul Goldschmidt, would I move Pete? Yeah, Pete, for a year or two, you got to move till Paul dies. But I'm not moving Pete if it's going to fuck up Pete's head. And you've seen him interviewed. Pete's a little bit, I don't know what it is, but he's something. And I got to be careful with that. So I don't know how you feel, Nick, about what Joe said. But Joe, does that make sense?
I hated what Joe's saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying, Joe? Like, on paper, as a Yankee fan, you're like, oh, I'd move him. He's a big guy. He's not I get it. But as a Mets fan, Pete's not going to move happily. And I don't want to upset a guy they call the polar bear. So,
All right. So we go from one guy who appears to be, upset if you're going to move him, to a guy who now wants to be moved, right? So we reached the Jets portion of the program. And obviously I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers, right? So
look at that disgust on David's face. We're going to make this quick. The Jets talk.
No, I love the Jets. Go ahead.
The Jets had a solid season for about 2.5 months last year. And then once again, it all fell apart, right? But mainly, I think it was due to a lot of injuries.
Yeah, Breece Hall.
The quarterback was not good last year. But I happen to think that 90% of this roster is really, really good. The offensive line stays healthy, and if Breece Hall comes back, now you have a group of wide receivers where you had a rookie who had 1,000 yards. You went out and got Allen Lazard, who was Rodgers' latest buddy, his most recent buddy last season.
But still the second best receiver on the team.
Sure. But he'll be the second best receiver on this team. Totally fine. The third best receiver on this team. Totally fine. And you have a defense that's good, gets to the quarterback. You have an all-pro cornerback right out of the gate as a rookie, right? So it's like the defense never seems to be the problem. Even in years where they're bad, it seems like the defense is just like at worst average, at best, they're really good near the tops of the league, right? But they need a quarterback. Rodgers wants the Jets. I still worry about the coach a little bit, but it seems like the ingredients are here where if you bring a guy like Rodgers, it'll be like how Favre was in 2008. And I remember that
5-1
listening to the radio when we got him. They started 8-3, and then his injury happened, then it all fell apart. So if they do get Rodgers, because again, this is contingent on him coming here, and he's still working on that. But let's say he does come here, right? Let's say Breece Hall is healthy, and let's say everything else health-wise for the most part stays intact here. And you have here like a Brady Bucks like run where it's 2 to 3 years. Rodgers clearly he's ready for retirement. He's thinking in his head, like, who are the Jeopardy hosts, right? I'm better than them. That's already on his mind. That's 2 or 3 years from now. But if he does want to be here 2 or 3 years and he wants to finish out his career with the Jets, right? I think they could be really good next year. Do I think they could be the top team in the NFL or the AFC necessarily? No, but I think it puts them in the mix. What do you think about that?
I'm going to start off by telling you I'm not a fan of Derek Carr. I've watched him throw big interceptions. I think he's especially if you're a fantasy football player, you don't draft Derek Carr. I would rather have Derek Carr. I'll tell you why. Number one, it would signal the end of Zach Wilson, which I think is important. I don't think he's a good fit. I don't think you draft a guy second who played for a small college and didn't play a lot. And during a pandemic, it was a terrible pick. I think Derek Carr would have been humble and fit in. And I like a guy that wanted to be here. Aaron Rodgers, in my mind, is a nutcase. He's talented. So let's talk about his statistics first. 20 and 21, he had MVP numbers. Last year, they drafted 2 receivers, good young receivers who were very good. He's got a great double threat running game. He had his worst season of his career. His numbers were down in every category. I don't mortgage my future or trade away first-round picks for a guy on the way down who wants to go into bat caves, would rather miss games than get vaccinated. I don't want to get into that, but that, to me, that says something when you let your team down. They lost the games he didn't play. That's not going to fly in New York, that mentality. I'm not sure where his head's at. I don't know if he's going to quit after 5 games when the New York press is too difficult for him. He doesn't need the money. Look, if he wins with the Jets, he's an all-time great, right? But he's telling the Jets who to trade for, he's general manager. He's not even on the team yet. He's LeBron, right? What receivers, who I want to play with. I want to wear number 12. Can you talk to Joe Namath about bringing the number back? That's sacrilegious to me. You let Joe Namath make that offer. You don't wear 12. I'm sorry. You're a Yankee fan. Imagine Aaron Rodgers wanted to wear number 4 or number 3 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. No. There's certain numbers like you go, what? Joe Namath is all the Jets have ever had at quarterback. Ever.
A couple of years.
Yeah. Ever. Chad Pennington had a couple of good seasons. Vinny was great till he fell down, But as far as a franchise quarterback that you have for 10 years, Joe Namath is it in the history of the franchise.
He wasn't even there 10 years.
I know. He wasn't there that long. I know.
54 years now since the Super Bowl, right? So.
I think Aaron Rodgers with his handpicked podcast and his appearances on I don't like it. I don't want to root for him. He's funny in the commercials. I'm sure he's a good person in real life. I don't know if his shtick's going to fly in New York. If he starts off 1-3, it's going to get ugly fast. And so is he mobile anymore? Did he not throw 35 touchdowns because of his team or because he doesn't have it anymore? I know he's good in bad weather. I know he's good in the wind. I'm not worried about that. I just feel like we're bribing him to come here, right? Who his only option, nobody else wants him but the Jets. And we also have to give him his wide. How long before Randall Cobb is a Jet, right? Like
it's not a Jet yet.
It's too much. Like they want to pay you. They don't want you in Green Bay anymore. You don't want to be there. Come and be a team player. But I feel like he's going to be like, it's like, remember when the Mets didn't want to sign Alex Rodriguez in 2001?
Yep.
They said they didn't want 24-1 on the roster.
Yep.
I feel like they're not 53-1, right? Is it 54-man roster still? I just feel like it's going to be Aaron Rodgers and the team. And he's a great Hall of Fame quarterback. I get it. Joe, if he's the guy that brings him over the top, great. I just don't want to root for him. I don't want, there's certain guys in Major League Baseball I don't want on the Mets. I wouldn't root for them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want A-Rod on the Mets. I wouldn't want Barry Bonds on the Mets. I don't like in their prime. I don't want to root for them. I don't want to wear them on my back. I don't want to wear a jersey with their name on it. Just me. And it's just, Aaron is just, he's got issues with the media. Everything's like more about him and his, I don't know. Am I wrong at all of it? Does any of that make sense, Nick?
Listen, it makes sense. I'm not a Jets fan, but both of you know this, that even if they get Aaron Rodgers, it's not going to end well. It's going to be Brett Favre all over again. The problem is the Jets head coach, he's not an offensive guy. So I would say,
yeah, but their offensive coordinator is Aaron's offensive coordinator.
Right. I'm envisioning this next year. While I'll be back on, we'll be talking about the Jets' new head coach, new general manager, and new quarterback.
I think the GM's safe. I'll tell you why I think he's safe. Look at his draft last year.
Yeah, but look at his big pick. Zach Wilson.
Yeah, he did mess up one pick, absolutely. But
I like Zach Wilson. I just think he was very poorly coached.
He got Sauce. He got Brees.
He got Garrett Wilson.
He got Garrett Wilson. He had 3 home runs last year.
Vera Tucker is a very
good Tucker looks great. So if you look at his his last 7 picks, he made 1 bad pick. Yes, a very bad pick. I get it.
Yeah,
I think it was a good pick. I think the coaching staff just totally botched the whole operation.
I'll give you that. I did. They did mess up how they were bringing him along. He should have sat, even with a bad franchise. Andrew Luck stepped in right away. What's the guy's name in San Diego? Herbert, right?
Yep.
Herbert stepped in right away. Pretty much. Certain guys, even Mahomes sat for a year.
Yep.
Before he played. Not everyone can step in and start playing. So if I'm wrong on Herbert, I think Herbert started right away.
Herbert started, I think, the second week.
Okay, second right, but
Tyrod Taylor got hurt.
Yes, that's right. That's why he came in, because of Tyrod. So again, the plan was not to start him. Now Herbert is a phenomenal talent, and the Jets didn't pick him. But not everyone. And I think considering Zach's lack of playing time in Division I big game football, he should not be starting game 1 with a shaky offensive line and a new coach.
Yeah.
And
the offensive line, not good. But
no, so you're right. They messed up with him. Look, he could come back and be a much better quarterback. He just, seeing him interviewed, and he just seems like he's 12 and he's not cut out for New York. And he reminds me of what's the guy's name? Cleveland had him.
Baker Mayfield, Johnny Manziel.
No. Maybe Cleveland had him. From Alabama. He had a really hot girlfriend that kept showing in the stands. He went to the USFL.
AJ McCarron.
Same thing. Like McCarron was great in college. You thought he was going to be great. Like, he was a running quarterback and he was going to light it up. Same thing. I don't know if Zach's built to be a running quarterback. Like, you have to be a big take a hit guy, and he's also trying to do like behind the back passes. He's not Brett Favre yet. Like,
what I will say about Zach Wilson is, before they benched him, he had a winning record. So we'll leave it at that with the Jets talk.
So did who's the old quarterback on the Jets? Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco had a winning record. The quarterback's not the only guy on the field. There are guys who pitch who are like 1-7 and they have a 2.1 ERA.
So you can't blame just one guy. That's my point.
I blame Zach Wilson for the actual losses, but I can't give him credit for the wins because they weren't winning because of him.
Right.
He threw no touchdowns during games.
He had one game where he was the reason.
Look at Garrett Wilson's numbers with Wilson in the game versus anybody else. Rookie of the year numbers, nothing with Zach Wilson. Oh, we're gonna have Wilson or Wilson. No, we didn't. No. So the offense ran with Breece Hall. The minute Breece Hall wasn't there,
Breece Hall,
Zach was exposed.
To tie a bow on it, I'll quote Mike Francesa. The bottom line is they messed up with Zach Wilson in his development or coaching, whatever. Mm-hmm. They just in and out, too much. Didn't work out. Now, David, what would you say in your life or your career, or maybe your sports fandom, is your I'm right moment? So even by that is a time or place where you wanted to pursue something or do something. You asked somebody for advice. They said, David, that's a terrible idea. Don't do that. And you were like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. And ultimately, you will see why it is that I'm right.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me what I was right about in sports that someone said I was wrong about.
That could be your I'm right moment.
I'll give you that, but let me give you that first while I think about the career choice. So my dear friend, Shannon Ford, who used to do PR for the Mets, she passed away from cancer. She was Jay Horowitz's right hand.
Yep.
In 2009, in March, before Citi Field opened, she gave me a private tour with Skeery. And we saw the stadium. And before anyone had seen the stadium, there were some aerial shots, but you really couldn't see. And they had released a digital version, like a computer-generated, what it would look like. And MLB The Show had a commercial, and they showed the stadium, and the walls were blue. But when I got into the stadium, there was nothing with Mets. There was no blue and orange, and the wall was black with an orange line. And when I first walked out, I thought the wall was blue. All the press kits we got, everything was blue. The video, she says, they made a decision. They wanted more of a ballpark field. That the seats were green, and the wall was black, and the wall is black for the Giants, and as a tribute, because the Ebbets Field with the Jackie Robinson rotunda, and the state look was Ebbets Field look, and the black was reminiscent of the Giants. And I said, this is the Mets. The average listener, the average fan doesn't remember or care about the Brooklyn Dodgers or the New York Giants.
Right.
My mother does, but she's not your fan base.
Should have brought over the orange and blue seats.
Yeah,
shit.
I said people are going to hate the seats, even though green is for baseball stadiums. It's greenish. I get it. But they're going to hate that outfield wall more. And I'm telling you now, within 3 years, it'll be blue. And she said, oh, you're crazy. And I met other executives, and I know a lot of the people in the front office. And I'm not going to drop names, but I said to all of them, VPs, I said, 3 years, that wall's blue. No, the Wilpons love it. 3 years, exactly. 2012, it was blue.
This is a great I'm right moment, Joe. This is the best one we got.
So I called Shannon up and I said, I see the walls being painted blue. It's like, you were right. You were right. Yep.
You're right.
I was right with two things. I told her the Mets should get Carlos Beltran in 04 when he was lighting it up for the Astros. I said, I said two things that I was right about. I said, they need Carlos Beltran. He's like, I don't think the Wilpons are going to do that. I said, they need to sign Carlos Beltran. Then when it was Carlos and Carlos, right? It was Delgado and Beltran. I said to Shannon again, and by the way, all my, I'm rights aren't with Shannon. I said, I know the marketing is about Carlos and Carlos. I get it. But this was before the 2005 season. Because I had interviewed the person I'm going to mention in 2004. He had only played a half a year. And I interviewed him, and it was the most humble. I still have the tape. The most humble interview I've ever done. I said, his looks, his attitude, the way he plays the game, the face of your franchise is going to be David Wright. And I said, I know your marketing is Carlos and Carlos, and I know they were going for. It was a very different vibe under Omar Minaya. They were going for a certain thing, and I said, David's going to be the face of your franchise. She said, you think so? A couple of years later, obviously, he became the face of the franchise, and she and David became the best of friends. So I feel like my prediction powers with the Mets, very good. Now, as far as my career, when I started in radio, I had a job in retail, and I wanted to do radio, and I had sent a cassette back in the day to Z100, and they didn't have a job for me. They were like, you can hang out anytime you want. And at some point, they said, well, you can be part of the show. We just don't have a job for you. You will teach your radio, come in every day. And I went to friends and my wife. My wife said, quit your job. Just go there. Go quit your job. Go. I'll support us. Quit your job. And a lot of my comedy friends were like, that's cool and all, but if there's no gig, they're going to take advantage of you, and you shouldn't do that. You should focus on the improv and the sketch. And I had an agent who said, that's a bad move. Don't do it. And I said, I don't know how many opportunities like this I'm going to get. I'm taking it. And I'm right, because it worked. I got a job. After about a year, they were like, we got to have this guy stay. He's great, or whatever they said. I'm just paraphrasing. And I got a job, and I lasted over 24 years before it burned me out. So yeah, those are my two moments where, I'm right. I was right about David Wright, the outfield wall, and Carlos Beltran. And I was right about taking the job in radio for free. So there you go. I hope that's a good answer for her.
It was one of the best answers we've ever gotten, to be honest.
Thank you.
Very, very good. Great. Great.
I'm on my way to that jacket.
Yes, you are. You got 3 more appearances, but Dave, we appreciate your time as always. Thank you. I think it would be a good idea if one day soon, sometimes over the summer, the 3 of us get together and we go grab lunch or something. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll go to Juicy Lucy for the best barbecue in Staten Island.
Absolutely. Go to juicylucybbq.com and use the promo code YKR. Again, juicylucybbq.com/YKR. You're right there. You're all set.
And one of the owners is a guy named Rob McCool, I think. Ask for him. He's a cool guy. You should talk to him. Also, Mike Marino. Shout out Mike Marino. We should all get together. Give him my information and vice versa. Whatever you want to do.
We're going to see him soon. So once we do that, then we'll give him the information and we'll link you guys up. And like I said before, I think you guys are very like-minded. I think your humor style, the delivery, all of that stuff is very similar.
He's a Yankees fan though, right?
He's not a baseball fan.
You're not a baseball
okay. Fan. I can tolerate that. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's good.
So we'll put you in contact. But anyway, we appreciate you. Hopefully we'll get together soon. And if there's anything else you would like to say, promote, by all means, go ahead.
I hope you'll have me on before the Subway Series this year. And I'm talking about the one in October. I'm feeling good about both New York teams. I hope the Yankees can live up to their end of the bargain.
Let's see.
Wow.
Joe,
Love
Yeah,
that.
thank you, Nick. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the next step towards my jacket anytime you're ready.
All right, David, appreciate your time. Go talk to your bosses that, oversee the Brooklyn Boys podcast. I think you and me got something going on here. We could do a Mets podcast.
Very
Crush
good.
the downloads.
Brooklyn Boys podcast available on all podcast platforms. Although if you go on iHeartRadio, there's a little microphone you can tap and talk back and leave us messages. That's the easiest thing to do. And our merch, if you want to buy merch, brooklynboys.bigcartel.com. Thank you.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of You Know I'm Right for our very special guest from the Brooklyn Boys podcast, David Brody. For my co-host, Joe Calabrese, I'm Nick Durst, and this has been You Know I'm Right.